Hello, I'm on Live and Thrive with Tony again. Tony will be dissecting the subject of problem solving with us today. You know, a proverb says a problem shared is a problem half solved. Yeah, this means that the problem has been identified and known in the first instance. What then is a problem, Tony?
Yeah, you talked about a problem shared, but I'll start with a quote. By the way, hello, folks. Always good to be here. So John Dewey said once that a problem well put is half solved. So clearly understanding what the problem is part of solving the problem itself. But let's start by understanding what the problem is. It should be a matter or a situation that can be seen as unwelcome, difficult, doubtful, or even harmful, and you need to overcome that situation. Oftentimes, it leads to trouble or worry. For example, if you had financial problems like sudden huge expense or your income source dries up, clearly, what a problem does is that it prevents you from achieving your objectives. There's another word that is closely related to problem, and that's issue. An issue is somewhat similar because they both refer to challenges, but oftentimes issues represent a topic or a matter that's to be discussed, whereas a problem is something that needs to be resolved. An example would be like abortion rights, for example. Some people are in favor, others are against it. So that would be an issue. Now, problems can be routine or non-routine. So when you have a routine problem, you really don't go through a very big process. It's something you've done before, you're familiar with it. So solving routine problems is not as complicated as a non-routine one, which might require new thinking. Then we can take problem to the biggest level where I'm sure you've probably heard of what they call wicked problems. These are problems that are very challenging, complex, difficult, very hard to solve. Oftentimes the conditions are changing and we don't even at times recognize these problems. Usually these problems, we find ways of reducing the impact they have on us. An example would be the COVID epidemic, which is still ongoing right now, in spite of all the efforts we have made. Climate change is another intractable one, or food insecurity. So that, in a nutshell, defines what a problem is.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for explaining the difference between problem and issue. I believe that I'm not the only one that has used this interchangeably in the past. But question is this: what if you don't know you have a problem? I'm just wondering, like someone that has a case of mouth odor or body odor and is not even aware of the problem, would that be an issue then or a problem? Well, that's on one hand. Then my other question is, how do we solve problems when we do know we have them? I'll appreciate what to do if you have a problem that you don't even know you have. And then, because you had said a problem is something that is uncomfortable, something that puts you under pressure. That's a problem. But mouth odor, it doesn't put you under any problem. So yes, that, and then how do we generally solve problems?
Well, for the mouth odor thing, oftentimes you may just get feedback from people who cringe when you come near them or something. Or some people will be clear in telling you, hey, dude, why don't you just go fix this? You seem to have a problem here. So oftentimes, knowing the problem is like I said, the only way you can get to solve it. So even if you don't know there's a problem, you're not likely to even try to solve it in the first place. Well, let's talk about solving problems. The first thing we must know about problem solving, especially the non-routine ones, we're assuming that you're familiar with a routine problem, you can solve it, you have handled it several times in the past. It is a process. That means you have to go through several stages in handling the thing. So the first thing is you identify the problem, you develop possible solutions, and you take action based on the solutions you have come up with. One of the things about problem solving also is that it enables us to continually improve. Imagine if there were no wheels. I can think of cars, of so many things that use wheels to make mobility much easier for men. We could have probably still be depending on horses and animals to move around and think how far we could go. So problem solving, apart from helping us achieve goals, also helps to make things better, easier, faster. And indeed, it's problem solving by different people that has made this world much better than it had always been. An example would be somebody like Bill Gates that came up with the operating system that has totally revolutionized the way we work, the way we play even. I remember an advert I saw about 20 years ago where they put a stereo, a television, a telephone, and so many other devices on one side and put a laptop on the other side and said, this equals that. So it has enabled us tremendously because somebody thought of it and was able to come up with a solution. But for the purpose of our discussion today, I'm going to be using a model which I think we should all adopt when we're trying to solve problems. It's called the ideal model, developed by two guys, Bransford and Stein in 1993. It is called the ideal model. I stands for identifying the problem and opportunities, D for defining goals, E for exploring solutions, A for action, and L for looking back. So let's quickly dig deeper into this. And I'll start with a quote by Albert Einstein. He said if he was given 1 hour to save the planet, he would spend 59 minutes trying to understand what the problem is and the 1 minute remaining to resolve it. So in identifying our problems, what do? You diagnose the problem, the context, the background, and what are the symptoms of this problem. Now, there are many tools for understanding a problem. I only recommend for this discussion 2 of them. Some problems are singular. That means there's a one approach to solving it. But many problems often have many components. So there's what they call the 5 whys, or the root cause analysis. When you're trying to understand a problem, you drill deeper and deeper. So an example of this is you arrive late at work. And you're trying to understand why you got late to work. You found out that the reason you got late to work was because you woke up late. Then you now ask another why after you have found out why the first problem came about. You found out the reason you woke up late was that the alarm clock did not sound. Then you now ask a why did it not sound? The answer to that is that the battery ran out. So in drilling deeper and deeper into why things happen, we're able to get to the root cause of the problem. So in order for you not to get late to work again, by ensuring the battery is working and your alarm clock, you are able to solve that particular problem. But there are some problems that have multiple causes. This is where you now do things like the fishbone analysis, where you identify all the various causes and drill down to all the other causes. Like that late arrival to work could also have been caused by traffic, unexpected traffic on the way, or your car broke down on the way to work. So you can put them in all the various buckets and drill further down for each one. Why did the car break down? It was because of that. Why did that happen? You drill further down. And with that, you're able to come up with a compendium of solutions that will help you not go late to work again. It could even be a human problem. You're just a very lazy guy. The alarm sounded and you push the snooze button. Oh, I can do with an extra 10 minutes of sleep. Then the thing sounds again after 10 minutes. You push another snooze. Then you get to work late. So understanding all these factors is very important. I have to run quickly through this. One of the things we have to understand is that we need to understand the reason for the problem. That's the only way we can actually solve it. So when you are trying to identify problems, there are other things you must also note. What are the potential things that can also go wrong? Don't just look at what has gone wrong now. You solve the problem better when you think of future problems as well. What are the other things that can go wrong? And don't forget, like I said, about going late to work, that can be multidimensional. Problems can be multidimensional. So you have to consider a range of economic, social, and environmental factors. After you've done that, you get to the D, which is defining the goals. For us, we'll have different goals we want to achieve, so it affects the outcomes we wish. So a particular problem could affect us differently. So we have to identify how it affects us. How do we want to go from there? But that will also help us in identifying which specific solutions. What if your dream is not even to go to work anymore, or you want to start working from home? So maybe the alarm clock will not be your solution in that situation. So your goals matter as well. So now you know where you want to go in solving your problem. You start exploring solutions. When you are coming up with solutions to a problem, don't just come up with one. It's always good to look at so many things. Instead of using an alarm clock, should I use a different thing? Should I, get a cock that crows at dawn, for example? There are so many. So you look at even stupid solutions. You start with all of them, then you can now refine your solutions to see which ones best address both the problem and the goal you wish to achieve. And when you are doing this, you have to be systematic in breaking down the problem. Because if you are not systematic, you may miss an important key ingredient in your solution. Several other tricks have been recommended by experts, like researching how did somebody else solve the problem. I remember I once had an issue with my car key fob, and I thought I should just, oh God, I have to go back to the workshop to get it done. Then it just occurred to me, hey, it's only a key, a battery in the key fob. And I just checked it out on the internet. I found a way of doing it, and it was so easy. I did it myself. I ended up spending less than 10% of what I would have spent if I had gone to the workshop. But there are times you might need an expert also in helping you to solve a problem. Then you look at all the solutions you have come up with. There are times you have to use a combination in solving the problem that you wish to solve or getting the goals that you wish to achieve. Most importantly, you now need to execute. A plan is nothing without being executed. We discussed this in one of our presentations on executing your plan. I suggest you watch that. Now, when you're taking action, it's also important to anticipate what could happen if I do what I intend to do. Because there have been people that have solved problems only to create new ones. It's like you are borrowing to pay a debt. for example, imagine you owe somebody money. You now go to another person to pay that person. You are effectively not paying off that debt, except your original creditor is somebody that was going to kill you if you didn't pay. Maybe you would have saved your life. But in real terms, you have not really solved the problem. So when you are also taking action, remember that there are times we try out our solution on a small part. If it works, then you can go big. There are times we need to adjust our solutions while implementing so that it fits the situation, or we might even be able to improve it. So it's not a static thing. Solving a problem is a process that we need to keep working on. And when you have executed, like the guy said in the ideal model, you have to look back, reflect. What are the actual results you are getting? What are the lessons you can learn? Because if you don't take lessons from your experiences in life, you don't get any wiser. A lot of people do something, get out of it, and they don't look back to see, oh, okay, so the way I got out of it, was it efficient? Was it good? Could there have been a better way? They end up not being able to solve those problems better the next time. So it's always very important to reflect on the process, note what worked, and see what can be improved upon. And don't forget, there are times we create new problems when we solve old ones. For example, I just talked about cars, making it possible for us to be mobile. But it has created new problems like traffic jams, pollution, noise, even killed people. So we have to keep thinking around our problem-solving approaches. So that essentially is what you do when you want to solve a problem.
Thank you so much. So understanding a problem and the root causes of the problem is a prerequisite to solving the problem. So are there further quick tips that could help?
Yes, of course, your attitude to problem solving can improve greatly, not just adopting the ideal model, but by understanding a few things. For example, problems will always occur. So we as humans must be ready to solve them. It's important for us not to jump into conclusions or to jump into solutions. Do a step back and think through, follow that process, the ideal process, especially if it's a complex one. Look at what you can do and not what you can't. Because some people try to solve a problem they can't, and they end up not only failing to solve the original problem, but adding on additional problems, and that would be a bad move. Whatever problems we're trying to solve, we have to also be considerate of society, the law, the environment. See, if you solve a problem by, imagine you have garbage in your house and you dump it to your neighbor's house as a way of getting rid of the garbage. That would not be acceptable to that neighbor, of course. So solving our problems should consider all these things. And when we are looking at problems, always do not jump, like I said, to conclusions, or try many approaches, look at it from different angles. It gives you a better view of how to solve the problem. And there are times you have to try and fail and try again. So don't be afraid when that happens. And based on your first quote, like the problem shared, if a problem is kind of too tough for you to handle, share it. It tends to help you with that, having multiple views around the problem. So on that note, I'll end with a quotation that life is a series of problem-solving opportunities, but they will either defeat you or develop you, depending on how you respond to them. That was an American author, Rick Warren, that said that. So I urge you to remember your ABC. Always be committed. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Always amazing to be here. Honestly, I love that last quote. The truth is, problems are good. There will always be problems, and we cannot move forward in life without problems. We develop strength from problems. Look forward to problems and then look for ways to solve them. But don't do it alone. Ask for help always. Yes, I love the initial quote as well. But what if you have a problem and you are not even aware? Then you really have a big problem now. I'd like to also include that you watch how people react to you. We are not here in isolation. We can't actualize purpose without others. If people react negatively to you, try to understand why. You probably have a problem and you need to watch that. But having identified the problem, I believe that the tips that we've learned today, all the tricks we've learned today, will be very helpful for everyone. Thanks for watching. It's always nice to have you here. We have other videos on our YouTube channel, Live and Thrive. Please check them out. Like, comment, subscribe, and also share. Have a wonderful time.